Okay, so I'm back. The follow-up video for with my problem that I had with this receiver. These FlySky FS-A8S things with the ppm and all that kind of stuff on them. I did eventually figure this out. Is more programming than anything. I did find out that it was bound when there's a solid red light on these things. It is bound to the transmitter. They are talking to each other. So that was a relief. Now, the one thing that I realized too was with this transmitter, when you plug in the original that comes with this transmitter, the 10 channel TGY 1A10, is that a little icon shows up in the corner to say there's a transmitter or a receiver. Whereas it seems like the FlySkys and all the other ones don't do it. Because I found another, even another Turnigy transmitter. This one even doesn't show up on the thing there. So yeah, so you don't look for a transmitter icon on this thing like you do with the other ones. I think it's concerning a two-way and one-way communication with these things. Right now I got it on one-way. So AFHDS 2A, version 2A, as one-way. Whereas the receiver that came with this is a two-way receiver because it has telemetry, which is nice, but a huge 10 channel receiver will not work with this setup very well. So we'll go into the programming and I'll show you what I did there.
Okay, so now we're back. Now we're in beta flight. So I got beta flight programmed onto this flight controller as a NAS32 board. I think it's an F1 version or something like that. It's an older board, but it was cheap and I'm just getting into the hobby. So I got the, so it's working. It's a little glitchy actually today. So yeah, so that's hooked up and everything with the props off, of course. So now what I found was that most of the tutorials that I found online were for beta flight and setting up all these boards. They always said, oh, UART1 and UART2 and whatever else you have listed on these things. I think it depends on how new your flight controller is and all that kind of stuff. But UART1 is actually the USB drive or the USB driver port, which is fine and everything. If you turn that off, you won't get it working again. And the UART2 is the serial signal that comes from your transmitter or your receiver and transmitter. And so what I found was that I had selected this and gone through all the other people's tutorials and gone through, and so you select a serial RX, and then you go into configuration, you scroll down, and you click. You got your receiver window, and you select your serial based S bus or and so on. So serial based receiver, and I got my. And speaking of which, so I have my serial or my signal wire coming from my receiver into the port 4 on my NAS32 board, so if that helps anybody. And it is in port 4 on the serial side. UART. It says on the back of the board, it says UART 2. So the other 3 or 4, I kind of tried 3 and 4, and kind of just soldered it onto 4 and just kept all that the same. So I select serial based receiver, and then I selected iBus because these receivers only these flight controllers, sorry, only use iBus. They can't use SBus for some reason. So that's selected, and so what I did was I saved and reboot a whole bunch of times, and I've actually had problems with that even then. Was that it wouldn't stay once I selected any of these, and even any of these SBus or iBus, that it wouldn't actually hold it because I'd save and reboot and disconnect and then reconnect, and it wouldn't, and these would be blank again. It would be on PPM or whatever. Oops, that's my transmitter. And it would blank out. So I don't know if it was just when you do it, in which order you do it. Either you set this up first and then you select the serial RX, or you select the serial RX and then save and reboot and go back into this window and then select the iBus and then save and reboot. Honestly, sorry guys, I can't remember which one I did first, but as long as you can keep this held in, once this actually locks in and saves this mode, I think you're good. And then you go and select the serial RX. I have any of these other telemetry outputs, sensor output peripherals. I don't have any of that selected. I have no idea what it does or what it's for. And then it seemed to work, or at least it seemed to save the settings that I had. And then what I also did was I realized, I didn't have any mode selected on for my transmitter. So I just thought, maybe let's just set up an ARM button. Or an ARM switch. So I set up an ARM switch, and I got that working. That's working now. That's not working because. And then I set up on being flying in horizon mode. So I set up horizon mode setting on that. And then that's working. So then I saved and rebooted. And then it just kind of dawned on me that, or just, I don't know, luck of the draw or something. That was up a little bit. That's why that wasn't working. Okay. So then, because the problem was that even though I had all this stuff set up before, nothing was happening. I would hit the controls on my transmitter, and nothing would happen. That's why I was confused and all that kind of stuff. Just didn't have the right port or the right configuration on here. It wasn't taken. Anyways, so now with all that on there, so now they actually work. So I got my transmitter all working, the yaw on the throttle, and whoops, there goes the transmitter again, and then the arm button and the auxiliary switches. PID tunings, I didn't change anything. If anything, I changed these. These are probably a little bit different than what you're seeing on your versions, because what I did have on my old transmitter and receiver was that I had this flying, and so I was playing with PID tuning because it was a little twitchy. So that had nothing to do with any of the setups. None of the disarm. I don't have any of the motor PWM stuff. Whoops, I don't want that. I didn't have anything else selected. I don't have any of these other features selected, displays or black boxes or anything like that. So yeah, just to recap, I had serial RX selected, and then made sure that the serial based receiver and the iBus were connected and saving, and the modes were set. I think that was the main thing, is that the modes. I think that's what really made a difference. I think for some reason it, maybe with the fail safes or something on the receiver and the transmitters, that they just needed a mode. Yeah, and now it works. So I hope that helps. Good luck, guys.